Hello and welcome everyone to another in the series of webinars by UNIPOWER. My name is John Ely. I'm the Vice President of Marketing. I'll be joined today by John Rambin, who is Head of Technical Services and Head of Applications Engineering. Today, we're going to be discussing DC power systems, and more specifically, we're going to be talking about mid-scale power systems between 180 and 300 amps. If you are or aren't familiar with UNIPOWER, we hang our hat on building very rugged, very reliable systems. We also offer very configurable designs, and we're going to talk about that configurability in a later slide. We serve a variety of different markets, telecom to data centers, utility to energy storage, but today, mid-power DC systems, primarily in telecom space, a little bit of data centers, as well as private loop communication systems in the utility and public safety sectors. All of our systems are configured and fully tested in Dunlap, Tennessee. We've got a nice facility in Tennessee, and regardless of the system, if it's deployed in North America, it funnels through our system here in the factory at Dunlap. We manufacture a wide range of DC power systems, from small systems, medium to large, sometimes very large bulk systems. But what we're talking about today are the units kind of in the center of the screen here, the medium power systems. So these systems that we're talking about specifically today are the Guardian 2U and the Guardian 3U systems. On the top left, you'll see the 2U system comprised of 3 rectifiers and some battery and distribution. The 3U system has 5 rectifiers and obviously a little bit more in the way of DC loads. They both use the same controller, regardless of the system that you select. It uses what we call the ACX controller, and there's a picture of that on the upper right-hand side of the screen. And we use a variety of rectifiers based on size, and those Guardian rectifier, the picture there is in the lower right-hand side of the screen. So to get into some more detail, I'm going to turn it over to John Rambin. And John, let's take everyone through the 2U Guardian system.
Thanks, John. We're looking at the front view of the 2U system right now. Working our way from left to right, we see the ACX Advanced Controller, common controller used in all the Aspiro and Guardian units. Around the controller, we also see 3 rectifier slots. These can be utilizing 2,000 watt rectifiers or 2,500 watt rectifiers or 3,000 watt rectifiers. Then we see the battery breakers. We have support for up to 2 battery breakers. And then we see support for up to 5 load breaker positions. We see 4 on the immediate right, and then in the area right above the 2 battery breakers, we have room for 1 more 18mm DIN load breaker. We can remove rear covers for access to any connections in the rear, and we'll be looking at the rear connections here. AC inputs are made as we're viewing the rear of the chassis on the left. DC load breakers terminations are made just to the right of the AC terminations. We have connectors for all 5 of our load breaker positions. And then the returns for both battery and load connections are made on that lower return bus. 2 battery feeds are supported just to the right of our load circuits. Then we have an AC earth frame ground. To the right of that, we have all of our alarm relay outputs and our signal inputs just to the right top chassis there. And here's some rear views of the 2U, both with the extended rear cover and with top representation is the covers removed. Now we're looking at the front of the Guardian 3U. Again, the ACX Advanced Controller is in the top left, and it's surrounded by up to 5 rectifier module positions. Battery breakers, we have support for up to 3 battery breaker positions. Then load breakers, we have 9, 8, or 6 positions available depending on how many battery breakers are deployed. So with 1 battery breaker deployed, we have 9 positions available, with subsequent load breaker positions reduced by the number of battery breakers we're actually deploying. And again, you can remove the top and rear covers for access to the load and battery breaker terminations. And now we're looking at some of the connection details. Again, this is a front view looking over the top. From left to right, we see the battery return connections are made directly on the bus bar that goes to the returns. Battery feeds are made directly to the top of the battery breakers, utilizing adapters that ship with the system. To the right of the battery breakers, we see load terminations. These are 18-millimeter load breakers. Some breakers utilize 2 and 3 18-millimeter positions. And these breakers will be equipped with adapters. We see a 2-position adapter and 3-position adapter. And to the right of that, we see just the standard 18-millimeter breakers with a cable landing directly into the breaker at the compression terminal provided. Right behind the load breakers, we have the load return bus, again supported with compression terminals. Right behind the returns, we have our alarm output and signal input terminations. And behind that, we have the AC input terminals, very similar to the ones used on the Guardian 2U. And the frame ground is located behind that. Now we're looking at the front views of both Guardian 2U and 3U. Here we see the standard 19-inch mounting relay racks, and then we have adapters available for 23-inch relay rack mounting.
Great, thank you, John. So some features that are common on these units are high efficiency rectifiers. The Guardian rectifiers are 96% or higher, up to 180 amps, depending on the shelf that you deploy here. They all have remote monitoring and control. So you can control the unit from the ACX controller on the front, or you can connect through our PALCOM system, which is a network system that allows you to control the unit remotely. The controller is field replaceable, as well as the modules are all hot swappable. The communications done through SNMP v3, so they are secure. And the modules and the controller have LED status indicators on the front. So if you were to look at this unit in its installation, you'd be able to get a quick view of the status just by looking at the front of the unit and looking at those LED indicators. The 2U unit comes with 4 Form C relays for alarms, 5 load breakers, 2 battery breakers, and the LCD touchpad. You can control this from the front of the unit from the ACX controller if need be. Very easy to install. It's a rack mount system that can go into a 19 or a 23-inch rack with adapters, and they are UL covered. These units are listed not only on the current UL standard, but also to the new UL standard, which will be in effect December 21st of 2020. So they're dual certified, will cover you either way. And like all UNIPOWER products, they carry a 3-year warranty. The table to the right describes our models that you would be configuring from. You have a choice of 2, and the difference really is just the AC input. Is it a single bulk AC input, or is it an individual AC input to feed all 3 rectifiers? Primarily in North America, you see the individual rectifier feeds. Outside of North America, the rest of the world, you'll see the single bulk. So it really is customer preference. From there, you choose your controller, your battery and load breakers, and cables appropriately. The 3U features, very similar. Same modules, again, same controller, up to 300 amps on this system. Remote monitoring and control is still done through the PALCOM system, through the same ACX controller. Ethernet is secure SNMP v3, status indicators. The difference here is this unit in 3U configuration versus a 2U configuration, you can get up to 10 Form C relay alarms as opposed to the 4. Now you can still order the 4 as a standard option here, but you have the ability to jump up to 10 in the 3U system. More load breakers available based on how many battery breakers you have installed. You can install up to 3 battery breakers. But again, another very easy unit to install, a 19 or 23-inch rack. And the UL is the same for this unit as it is the 2 unit. It will be dual certified, also incorporating a new UL standard that takes effect later on in 2020. 3-year warranty, just like the 2U unit. So the rectifiers. John had mentioned that there are 3 rectifiers available, a 2,000, 2,500, and a 3,000 watt rectifier. You'll see that I've got the 2,000 and 2,500 kind of grayed out, and we've got focus on the 3,000 watt. That's because most customers choose the 3,000 watt rectifier. The others are available, but most people do choose the 3,000 watt rectifier. They operate in a very wide AC voltage range, from 85 all the way up to 300 volts. They will start derating at 180 volts, and it's on a linear scale. So if you know your voltage is going to be below 180 volts, we can plot out exactly what that derate will be. And they will operate in very rugged conditions. There's no power derating all the way up to 55 degrees C. And we have a lot of these, over 500,000 installed worldwide. The controller, again, I mentioned that the controller is common between the 2U and the 3U. It is what we call the ACX Advanced Controller. It will support up to 64 rectifiers. So if you are installing a very large bulk system beyond what these 2 that we're talking about today, it will control up to 64, but for today's purposes, we're talking about 3 and 5 rectifiers respectively. The ACX controller will do battery tests and log that test information. It will do an actual discharge test. You can program it to run 2, 3 times a year on a various intervals, or you can run the test manually. Either way that you run that test, the ACX will record that battery discharge data. It has enough memory to hold 5 years worth of battery discharge testing data. Also has a programmable low voltage disconnect, so you can set your voltage to take the batteries out of the circuit when they reach a certain level of discharge. And along the line, we also offer temperature compensation. So for example, lead acid batteries, if they're cooler, they like a little more voltage. If they're hotter, they like a little less. You connect the voltage, the temperature probes to the cells. The ACX controller automatically knows how to compensate that battery charge profile based on the temperature that the batteries are at. It also operates as a site logger, so it will not only log the alarms for the internal system, it will monitor external conditions as well. So the ACX, while it will record 5 years of battery test log data, it will record 20 years worth of system and site logging data. So a very, very powerful controller. Okay, that brings us to the end of our formal presentation today. I'd like to invite you to visit us on our website, unipowerco.com. There are links here to take you to the 2 specific products we talked about today, the 180 amp and 300 amp DC power systems. But if you have questions on those or any other of our products, go to unipowerco.com. Lots of information published on that website. It's also a contact us page. If you are looking for something specific and are having trouble finding it, give us a call, get in contact with us. Applications engineering, sales, marketing, any of those folks will be able to help you navigate the site and find the answers that you need to help your customers make decisions on their DC power systems. So again, thank you again for your time, and that concludes our webinar for today.